Tonight on Joy News Prime, Police CID asked to investigate Assin North MP James Gyakye Quayson for perjury after Cape Coast High Court ruled he was ineligible to contest the 2020 parliamentary election and subsequently cancelled the poll. The minority describing the ruling as a travesty of justice and an attempt to undermine the balance of power in Parliament.
That the courts of Ghana have been captured and that the courts of Ghana have become forums being used surreptitiously to tilt the balance of power.
The majority, on the other hand, says the ruling is a vindication of its position since January 7.
We have been vindicated because from day one, we had made our point abundantly clear that the member was invalidly elected. And lo and behold, a court of proper jurisdiction has come to make a ruling.
As the Finance Minister prepares to present the mid-year budget review to Parliament Thursday, the minority is asking for a clear plan to deal with the country's rising debt level.
Borrowing, which has landed us into very severe debt risk situation, we should find a way of, curtailing the borrowing, and then institute measures to start the redemption of our debt.
Ghana Health Service stresses the need for Ghanaians to observe the COVID-19 preventive protocols, warning the lack of compliance and the refusal of infected persons to isolate could cause a severe third wave.
But we are experiencing a third wave. There's a high risk that the severe third wave may have a higher much more severe wave compared to the second if nothing is done.
And university lecturers threatening strike next Monday unless government agrees to increase the salary of the least paid lecturer from the equivalent of $900 to $2,084.
Until our demands are considered and met in total, UTAG will have no other option than to embark on industrial action by withdrawing teaching.
In Business, Association of Licensed Buying Companies discounts claims of non-payment of monies owed cocoa farmers. There's more to the story, though. As Joy Business learns, LBCs are currently financially constrained amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on their supply chain. My name is Israel, and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our Founder for Studios at Kokobime here in Accra, on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is a home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. The Assin North MP, whose election in December last year has been annulled by a Cape Coast High Court, could end up being charged with perjury. Following the ruling Monday morning, the MPP Regional Secretary has filed a complaint with the Police CID to investigate Joe Gyakye Quayson. The court, presided over by Justice Kwesi Boakye, did not only annul the results of the 2020 parliamentary election in the Assin North constituency, which was won by Mr. Quayson, but also ordered fresh elections to be conducted in the constituency. The case of the petitioner is that the MP, Joe Gyakye Quayson, at the time of filing to contest the election, had not renounced his Canadian citizenship and thus held dual nationality. Richard Kodjonyako was in court and has come through with this report.
55-page judgment in front of a packed court, the judge, Justice Kwesi Boakye, said the MP, Joe Gyakye Quayson, violated constitutional provisions and other statutory provisions that guide Ghana's elections. Consequently, he cancelled the 2020 parliamentary elections that were conducted in the Assin North constituency and ordered for a fresh election to be conducted. By the court's order, Mr. Gyakye Quayson should not hold himself out as the MP for the Assin North. Before the orders of the court, the judge took time to deal with the 4 issues that were set down for trial. On the issue of the capacity of the petitioner to maintain an action against the Assin North MP, the judge said the petitioner had the capacity and the petition was competent as well. The judge accordingly overruled the MP's challenge of the petitioner's capacity. The court explained that its jurisdiction could be invoked in an election petition when the EC conducts a parliamentary election and declares the result of the contest. Thus, he argued the court jurisdiction was properly invoked. On the second issue on whether or not the EC erred in the discharge of its duties and allowed Mr. George Achikwesin to file his nominations, the judge also indicated the independence of the EC in the conduct of elections in Ghana was not in doubt, and the court won't interfere in the operations of the EC unless an illegality and an unconstitutionality are being perpetrated by the EC. The third issue on when Article 94(2)A kicks in, the judge said based on the the MP submitted in his affidavit in response to the petition, he only ceased to be a Canadian citizen on November 26, 2020, and not any period before or at the time of filing to contest the elections. The court indicated that the evidence on the face of the certificate destroys the case of the Assin North MP. According to the judge, it would be a bad precedent and a cancerous tumor in Ghana's legal jurisprudence should the court allow that to happen. On the final issue on whether or not the election of the Assin North MP is null and void, the judge said the MP violated the constitutional provisions and other statutory provisions that guide Ghana's elections, and so the elections were null and void. A member of the NDC's legal team, Alex Sebefia, says it was a travesty of justice and the NDC would deal with the case to its logical conclusion. He adds, should there be a by-election, the NDC would still win the seat.
It says you must be a citizen of Ghana. If you are not a citizen of Ghana, you cannot hold certain positions. You cannot hold this position, president, you cannot be a chief of defense staff, etc., etc. And in 94(2), it says you cannot be an MP if you owe allegiance. There's a big difference between allegiance and citizenship. And sometimes they are mutually exclusive. This was never addressed in this case. This is part of the reason we wanted to go to the Supreme Court. And we went and were given certain instructions, and part of the applications we were going to do today was for this matter to be halted, for the Supreme Court to make an adjudication similar to what they did in Zaneto on 94(1) to be done with 94(2), so that we know exactly what the outcome would be with regard to this type of a scenario. Circumvent that and not let the Supreme Court have its say, we think is unfortunate. So it's not a question of delay or the election petition. It's a question of what is right. The bottom line is, what did the people of Assin North want? They wanted our candidate to be their representative. So if there is a problem, make sure you take time to actually ensure that truly there had been some problem and therefore he could not. That is not the case. And that is why we are minded at this stage to look at the judgment closely.
The legal rep of the petitioner and MPP's national youth organizer, Henry Nana Boakye, says the judgment is a victory for the rule of law.
We are of the view that this is victory for rule of law. And again, we will be waiting for the Electoral Commission's announcement on when the said by-elections will be conducted. Let me also state that we in the MPP, we believe in the rule of law. We have heard from our friends in the NDC that we are using some technicalities to make sure that the sovereign will of the people of Assin North will be thwarted. This is false, malicious attempt by the NDC to render our rule of law ineffective, but it is not going to work. Now, I said the last time that the same law that found Honorable Adamu Sakande as not eligible to be Member of Parliament for Bawku Central is the same law applicable as we speak.
The matter that was before the High Court was of a civil nature, and thus the court awarded a cost of 40,000 Ghana cedis against the Assin North MP, 30,000 Ghana cedis to the petitioner, and 10,000 Ghana cedis to the Electoral Commission. Reporting from the Cape Coast High Court for Joy News, Richard Kwejenyako.
We'll be getting more on the case filed by the MPP Regional Secretary asking the police CID to charge or investigates the Asin North MP for perjury. From our correspondent Richard Konyo Nyakun, he'll be joining us in a bit. We also have political scientist Dr. Lidu Said, who will be telling us the implications of this ruling. But let's go to Parliament now, where the Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu has described as a travesty of justice the ruling by the Cape Coast High Court annulling the outcome of the 2020 parliamentary election in Asin North. He claims it is an attempt to use the courts to determine the balance of power in Parliament, adding that the judge erred. Addressing a media briefing in Parliament House, Mr. Iddrisu warned cooperation will suffer because of what has happened.
We in the minority remain unshaken. We are confident that it is our seat, it will remain our seat. Our first is to use the same legal processes and legal forum and opportunities available within the Constitution. We will contest the ruling. The judge erred both in law and in fact. It's a travesty of justice. But what is worrying, we don't want to believe that the courts of Ghana have been captured and that the courts of Ghana have become forums being used surreptitiously to tilt the balance of power. We are equal, 137, 137. What is happening is the courts now being used to tilt the balance of power and to weaken time-tested historical notion of checks and balances. Justice must not only be done, but must manifestly and undoubtedly be seen to be done. What happened this morning in Cape Coast, we are told that even when the Supreme Court of Ghana directed the Honorable Kwesi and his legal team to go and file appropriate legal motions for the matter to be referred to the Supreme Court, he was denied that. That is repugnant and an affront to his right to a fair trial guaranteed under Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. Danger begets our democracy with the developments happening. But as I've assured you, we remain unshaken, we remain very resolved, and cooperation will suffer.
But Majority Chief Whip in Parliament, Frank Anodon, says the ruling vindicates the MPP's position, adding that James Gyakye Quayson was not validly elected. He says the minority leader's claims that there is an attempt to alter the balance of power in Parliament is unfortunate. He dismisses the minority leader's warning that cooperation in the House will suffer.
As members of the majority, raise issue of eligibility related to the Asin North Member of Parliament elect then. If you recall, there were dramatic representation even from our side. And we had cautioned the implication of that decision for the member to sit in and be part of that decision making on that day. Each one of you will bear witness. And so today we have been vindicated because from day one we had made our point abundantly clear that the member was invalidly elected. And lo and behold, a court of proper jurisdiction has come to make a ruling. Now, I respect the minority leader, but for him to say that rubbing in government influence and the likes is totally flawed and should be rejected ab initio. We think that if you look at the provisions in our law, the pieces of legislation as well applied, Article 94(2), Section 92 of the Representation Act, and then the Canadian Citizen Act, all put together, were the anchor of the ruling from the court. Now, be it as it may, any law-abiding citizen, when there is a court ruling and you don't agree in law, you need to file a review or go for an appeal. don't bring in the executive. We have built our country to the extent that we need to respect separation of powers, because the honorable minority leader is part of the legislative arm of government, and the court is part of the judiciary. So if there is a court ruling and you don't agree, you go appeal. You don't organize a press conference on the spur of the movement and start throwing jabs at the executives. I think they are getting confused, and I can understand them. It has blown them off their feet. But for us, it has only justified our claim at the initial stage.
Right, so we already know that the Central Regional Secretary of the MPP has filed an official complaint with the police CID for the Assin North MP to be investigated. But the MPP MP for Old Taffo, Vincent Assefuah, says the embattled MP for Assin North should face the full rigors of the law for voting in the speakership election on the dawn of January 7, even after a Cape Coast court nullified his victory. He says there should be a repeat of the instance where former Boku MP Adamu Sakande was sent to jail. Despite opposition from the MPP, Mr. Kwesi voted in the election that brought in Aban Bagbing as speaker. Mr. Assefuah says Mr. Kwesi disrespected the court when he cast that vote.
The minority at the time quoted Article 105 of the 1992 Constitution to us, saying that he should be allowed to vote because he's more than 18 and can think for himself and suffer the consequences thereof. And these comments was made by no other person than the Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka. A certain kind of decision that elected the Honorable Aban Bagbing. So my point is, the Honorable Assin North MP has brought this upon himself. I am charging the New Patriotic Party and every person who is interested in this case to take the proper procedures, not to create a room for the Honorable Assin North MP to be able to contest again, because if there is not a trigger of a criminal investigation against him, he is likely or probably legally allowed to vote or else will contest for that election. And so after that, maybe there should be a replica of what happened with the Sakande case, whereby knowingly you know that you are flouting the laws of this country, even when you have been cautioned, you have been advised on the floor of Parliament. The representatives of the Ghanaian people advised that because of the court injunction and the court declaration that you cannot hold yourself as a member of Parliament.
Now, Richard Kojo-Nyarko joins me with details about the case filed by the MPP Regional Secretary of the MPP. Now, tell us more about this case filed by the MPP Regional Secretary with the CID.
So Israel, he says that he files this in his personal capacity as a citizen of Ghana.
All right.
To petition the office of the CID to conduct formal criminal investigation into the conduct of Mr. James Gyakye Quayson, the Member of Parliament for Assin North constituency in the Central Region. He says that it would be recalled that following the just ended general elections conducted by the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Mr. Gyakye Quayson filed this nomination forms to contest the position of a Member of Parliament for the Assin North constituency when the Electoral Commission opened nominations between 5th to 9th October 2020. He says as part of the nomination forms, Mr. Quayson signed a statutory declaration under Part 4 of the forms. Mr. James Gyakye Quayson appended his signature before a judicial officer that he did not owe allegiance to any country other than Ghana, at a time when he was fully aware that, as a matter of fact, he owed allegiance to Canada at that material time of making the said statutory declaration. And he also brings in another one that it is also interesting to note that in his quest to acquire a Ghanaian passport on the 30th of July 2019, Mr. Quayson was asked whether he held a dual citizenship, but he answered in the negative, when in fact at that time of filling the said Ghanaian passport application forms, he was holding on to the Canadian citizen. So he had tagged the renunciation certificate to Mr. Gyakye Quayson, his Canadian citizenship, and that's of Ghana. And so he's praying that the Criminal Investigations Department will investigate and charge him for perjury because he lied on oath.
All right, what has been the reaction of the constituents?
Well, interestingly, and surprisingly, the constituents, when we sent our microphones there, they did not want to speak. In fact, you pull out the mic and they will tell you that, well, we do not want to say anything about this case. Interestingly, this is different from when the interlocutory injunction was being sought at the Cape Coast High Court on the 6th of January, when a lot of these residents came to the Cape Coast High Court, chanted war songs, and then sang, danced, and then hooted at the people they would want to hoot. But today, as if by any convention or something, they would not want to say anything or beat a word about the judgment that has been given. You remember that when the Central Regional Minister went to the Asen area, the chiefs of that particular traditional area indicated to the regional minister that they would want peace to prevail. And so if by any provision, the Asen North MP, Joe Gyakye Quayson, would be allowed the peace of mind to serve as the MP, they should do so. But if there is any wrong that is done, they should, hasten or they should quicken the pace, and then so that they could get a new member of parliament who will represent them.
All right. Now, Richard, one of the outcomes of this case is that a fresh parliamentary election will have to be conducted. I'll come to you in a bit for you to tell us how this constituency has voted in the past and to see if we could tell the way they're likely to vote. But joining us also is Dr. Ali Dusedu, who is a senior lecturer at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. Now, the minority claims the ruling is an attempt to use the courts to determine the balance of power in Parliament. Do you agree with him? Even though, yes, if it turns out, as it stands now, that they're saying North MP has to get out of Parliament.
Thank you so much. I think the outcome, if it's going to be a by-election, could actually have the capacity or the tendency to change the balance of power. I think the control of the legislature is very, very important. If you look at the history of the Fourth Republic, this is the first time we have had a kind of hung parliament. And that particular composition affects government's ability to conduct its business the way it should have had in the past when it had majority control of the legislature. So the outcome of this particular decision could likely change the composition of parliament. One, if you look at historical, from 1996, the MPP has won the seat, I think, 4 times, and the NDC has won the seat 3 times. If you look at the last year's election, the incumbent actually lost a little bit of vote. There was a skirt and blouse. So I think it was a serious indictment on the performance of the incumbent, because His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo won by a slim margin at the presidential level, and then the incumbent MP lost to this particular candidate, the current NDC parliamentary candidate. So it suggested that people had issues with him as a candidate, but there were also a lot of issues that has to do with the way the campaign was organized and the party, MPP as a political party. But moving forward, if we're going to have a by-election, you are looking at the entire state machinery zoning into that particular constituency. And that is going to have a lot of effect. You are going to look at the constituencies were complaining of poor rules and other developmental infrastructure within the constituency. You are likely going to see that a lot of these things are going to be improved within the short period of time. Government machinery, the entire government machinery is going to descend on the constituency. And you are likely going to see an unprecedented kind of primaries.
All right, but
by elections happening. One, it's not only going to change the composition of government on test here. This is the first by-election we're going to have at a very crucial time. If government loses again, the credibility and the popularity of government is going to suffer a huge dent. So I think government is going to do everything to make sure they win. And we are likely going to see a serious test case of what? The Vigilantism Act that was passed, and whether those vigilante acts vigilantism will be a mark of that by-election and what is going to happen moving forward.
All right, essentially you're believing that we're likely to see another Ayawaso Central, or it could come into play in any by-election that comes up in Asin Central.
Yes, especially looking at how crucial this by-election is. There's a likelihood that we're going to see a little bit of violence or at a magnitude that we cannot foresee. And I believe that if the entire state machinery descends there, there's going to be a little bit of chaos. And if care is not taken, we may see a repeat of what happened at Ayawaso West Wagon because of the fact that the stakes are going to be very, very high. If you look at the particular candidate, the MPP's candidate Dallas, if you're going to go all out free of intimidation, there's a likelihood that the incumbent MP can win. But if things are going to go that way, the MPP will fight tooth and nail to redeem the integrity of the government and to reassure the people that government is there for them by bringing in a lot of development projects that they didn't get in the run-up to the 2020 election.
All right. Oh, unfortunately, we're having a challenge.
The light of the campaign machine will be oiled at all cost.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Alidu Seidu. He's a political scientist with the University of Ghana. But I have Richard Kojo Nyarko on with us still. So, Richard, we know that it's likely to be a by-election. How has this constituency voted in the past, and what does it look like?
Well, so this is the Asin North constituency. In fact, it was part of the bigger constituency that Kennedy Agyapong won in 2000. So Kennedy Agyapong won the old Asin North constituency in 2000, won it in 2004, and then subsequently won it in 2008. In 2012, there was a split of that constituency. So we got Asin Central and Asin North. So Kennedy Agyapong held the Asin Central, and that is why he is currently the Asin Central MP. So 2012, it was won by the NDC, One Ambre, and then Abner Drua of the NPP won it subsequently in 2016, and then in 2020, Mr. George Achikwesin won it in the just ended election. But if you look at the dynamics, this constituency is a predominantly a farming constituency. What they mainly do is to farm it. They also have some settler farmers who are also there. But Mr. Kwesin came from the biggest town in that constituency, the constituency capital, Asin Breku. So the conversation I've had around this is that the MPP is likely to choose someone from Asin Breku, because that is why when people go there to interview the resident after this judgment, they are willing to say anything. There are two views to this. Others feel that the man has been treated unfairly. He was loved by the constituent. He contested the elections and won it fairly and squarely. And so why don't you allow him to go ahead? The others also feel that, well, the vehicle upon which he traveled to Parliament was faulty. And so let's have a fresh election and then let's see who actually wins. And so we are looking at these two dynamics. As Alidu Seidu indicated, it's going to be a very tough battle because the differences, even in the 2020 election, was not that much, 54% as to 48 or 47%. So it's not that much. So it's going to be a very tough battle or a by-election.
All right, thank you very much, Richard Kojo Nyarko. So as he was saying, in the 2020 election in December last year, this was the outcome. Abner Drua Mensah, she of the MPP, she obtained 14,193 votes, whilst James Achikwesin won with 17,498. It's a difference of about 3,200 votes there. And so the MPP, to win this, they would have to do better than that. But then the other thing to look out for is whether the voters will be turning out in their numbers as they did in December 2020. We'll be bringing you more analysis on this. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. The Ghana Health Service is stressing the need for Ghanaians to observe the COVID-19 preventive protocols, warning the lack of compliance and the refusal of infected persons to isolate could cause a severe third wave.
But we are experiencing a third wave. There's a higher risk that the severe third wave may have a higher much more severe wave compared to the second if nothing is done.
The Business Association of Licensed Buying Companies discount claims of non-payment of money to cocoa farmers. There's more to the story. As Joy Business learns, LBCs are currently financially constrained amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on their supply chains. To stage.
The negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic on international trade and the external marketing of cocoa. The closure of harbors and its consequent delay in shipments. The substantial drop in the price of cocoa beans.
To business, I'm Charles Aite. To our first story, the Association of Licensed Cocoa Buying Companies says claims of non-payment of cocoa farmers are untrue. Addressing today, the media today, the association claims that over 1 million cocoa farmers have all been settled their claims during the main crop season. Let's hear from the Public Affairs Manager of licensed buying firm Ecom, Victor Jar.
The main crop season has ended. There may be pockets, and I want that to be underlined, pockets of non-payment, which will be very, very insignificant, because so far, we have paid almost every farmer that we have bought cocoa from in the main crop season, especially most of the companies. The reason why I said there may be pockets is that we have close to 100 LBCs now registered to buy cocoa. So it will be difficult to speak for the 100 to know that, to be very sure that out of that 100, everybody has paid each farmer they bought cocoa from. But the underlying factor, which I want to emphasize, is that main crop cocoa, we have paid everybody. We have paid every farmer. So any farmer who claims that his or her main crop cocoa purchase is still outstanding, as have been addressed by the president, should come up. Because we have reporting, very well elaborate reporting lines in our businesses. And it has been stated already. It starts from the farm gate. The farm gate is the farmer who is producing the cocoa. The farmer delivers to PC, or whichever name that is given, the nomenclature. At the society level, the PC pays. He is the main contact person to the farmer. And he is the last person who has to release money to the farmer. If there is non-payment, then it is by our PC. But the PC works for us. There may be issues, maybe that farmer, somebody said already that certain times farmers take loans or what is from their PCs.
Well, meanwhile, the president of the association, Francis Ajeben, has revealed the global impact of COVID-19 on global supply chains has badly impacted the financing of licensed buying companies in the country.
Over the years, licensed cocoa buying companies have had to find money on their own to supplement what Cocoa Board grants for purchasing of cocoa. The process has been that LBCs buy cocoa from farmers, deliver at Cocoa Board's designated warehouses at the 3 locations mentioned above for reimbursement. In the course of the season, our members have sometimes experienced delays in payment from Cocoa Board after raising invoices. These delays, Cocoa Board explained as resulting from the following: the negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic on international trade and the external marketing of cocoa, the closure of harbors and its consequent delay in shipments, the substantial drop in the price of cocoa beans on the international market within the year, arising from the adverse effect of COVID-19 pandemic. The closure of many airports, hotels, and confectionery outlets where chocolates and other cocoa products are highly patronized. Ladies and gentlemen, these notwithstanding, members of LICOBAC have paid for cocoa duly received from our farmers. We, however, admit that in some instances, due to the time lag between the receipt of funds after raising or submission of invoice and onward transfer to the district and village levels, there are some delays in monies reaching farmers.
Away from that, the ongoing 5-kilometer sea defense project at Ningopam Pram in the Greater Accra region is expected to cost 390 million cedis. That's according to the Minister for Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye. Speaking to Joy Business after inspecting the progress of work, the minister said it is necessary expenditure to aid the local economy. Nicholas Brown has more.
Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye, says government is committed to providing funds for the construction of sea defense projects in the country. According to him, the protection of local communities against tidal waves is a top priority for the government to enable economic development of the communities. The minister gave this assurance when he inspected the progress of work at the Ningo Pram Pram and Dansuma sea defense projects.
I've seen very destructive activities at the coastline across the coastal communities of the country. But what I've seen today, I must admit, is the most devastating, because the sea here is very close to human settlements and is destroying property and livelihood. The sea defense project is such that as you build new ones, then the pressure moves from the existing ones to new areas, and that is why we see this devastation. Government is very committed towards the protection of our coastal communities against tidal waves and sea erosion, and government will continue to invest funds into sea defense projects.
Meanwhile, Project Manager Engineer Kwesi Sapon Osei tells Joy Business that the entire project, which is about 50% complete, will be fully completed by the end of the year, subject to availability of funds.
As we have said already, currently we have done about 50% of the work. 50% of the work. That has taken us about 18 or so months. But because we are highly mobilized now with a lot of equipment, the rest of the work is going to take us about 5 months. And then let me also go back to say that the project had a contract sum, and we are currently very much within the contract sum. So the other requests that have been received, you heard the fishermen talking about dredging of the Janley Lagoon and things like that. That can easily be accommodated.
Well, that'll be all.
Many thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you sports. And Ghana's Shakur Samed of the light heavyweight category has been eliminated from the men's Olympic boxing after losing to Turkish boxer Beyran Malkan via second-round technical knockout. The round of 16 bout was a competitive brawl until a right hook from Malkan sent Samir reeling on the canvas. Meanwhile, skipper of the Black Bombers, Suleiman Tete, who won his fight on Monday against Rodrigo De La Rosa, has called on Ghanaians to throw their weight behind him, promising the country a medal from the Games.
I'm going to fight against Cuba. And I want to tell Ghanaians that they should not be afraid of Cuba bosses. We are Ghanaian bosses. We can face them. And this is our time. So I want to tell them that they should keep supporting me, and I'll deliver it to them. This is our time. We have a history here, and I want to tell Ghanaians that we are going to repeat the history. I want to tell the Ghanaians that I'm going to beat Cuba Bossa, and it's going to be a history for Ghana. So watch me out. First of all, I want to thank Active General of Ghana Prison Service, Mr. Ajiri. Congratulations, and I want to tell you that I'll bring you a medal, Olympics medal. And I thank all my classmates, because one was serving prison service, and all entire prison service. Thank you all.
Thank you. Away from the boxing, let's do some football. And head coach of Accra Great Olympics, Arno Walker, is determined to replenish his squad for next season's Ghana Premier League. The Dade Boys finished in 6th place last season. Coach Walker expects a much better Great Olympic squad next season.
But if I should stay with Olympics, definitely I'm bringing on board players that you see and you'll be happy again.
What are some of the positions you want to strengthen?
My central defense is number one, very, very important. And my 2 keepers are out. You know, Said is out, Abe is out. So I'm left with only 2 keepers. So, and as for Abe, he will be out for so long. So if I should get him at all and the season starts, then I should get him in the 2nd round. So I need at least 2 keepers for now, till maybe they are back. So that, then my central defense, as at now, I would say, you can see, and you've been watching the match, I have to plan of bringing, I have Oli Jamae and Sechere.
That's it for this installment. More sports later in the bulletin.
All right, time for Showbiz. Becky Bex is already here. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Izzy. How are you?
I'm well.
I mean, let's talk about Moesha because
what's new on her?
Well, back on social media, some people are speculating, because I can't confirm, they're speculating that she had taken in bleach and had been admitted at the hospital. That's, you know, the recent on Moesha. Okay. That's according to social media. I can't confirm this because I haven't seen anything. Right. But my colleague from Adum, Sandra Kapo, had a conversation with Empress Gifty, formerly Gifty Osei. She says that Christians must desist from judging new converts. They are supposed to draw them in,
welcome them into the fold.
You know, and so that's, you know, the advice that she has been giving.
Okay, so I'd like to disagree with her a bit, and it's the fact that what she's talking about, she's making reference to the Moesha kind of conversion, or someone who has repented. Yes. But most Christians, majority of Christians who, you know, turn to Christ, don't all become born again, don't have their issues talked about in the media,
in the public,
like this. It happens quietly in the church and, you know, in their community, and everybody knows that, yes, they've turned a new leaf.
But I think what she's also saying about, you know, judging people by their past, I mean, she said that she's moved on from whatever it is that she's been doing. And so can we just move on from that?
Sure, I totally agree that, yes, I mean, we should let Moesha be.
Exactly.
That's it. Okay.
Moesha be, okay. So let's talk about Joe Mettle. He was on AM show this morning, and he's been talking about why he's always, you know, recording his albums live, you know, why he's not doing the regular studio
setup.
Yeah, recording. And here's what he has to say.
Most of the probably, it's all been live. The only difference is we've had studio live and then more or less like stage live or, you know, straight live sessions. Okay. But almost the whole album is live.
Why? Why is live such a big deal for you?
You get to capture the whole atmosphere, and it's more like a collective grace in the room, if you, so to speak. So there are different people who all support, make it work the way it is, and we record it straight. So it's not like
we don't rehearse before you?
No, definitely. But what I mean by that is everybody plays at the same time, whereas when it's a studio recording, we do one after the other, or sometimes, you know, so you're able to flow like you're ministering rather than recording. You know, so you capture that live atmosphere rather than being very careful and that kind of thing.
So you're more comfortable with this, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a worship person, so doing it this way is easier for me, actually.
Okay. But that's a beautiful track.
Yeah.
One where he mentions Israel.
Yeah, that you collaborated. I told him this morning, but he left. He actually said that, yes, he collaborated with you.
Okay.
So are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Let's move away. Let's talk about the movie industry. A lot of people are still calling for support. So the recent one to join is Beverly Afaglo. Okay. She says that if Ghanaians can celebrate movie makers or people in the movie industry like the way they celebrate the musicians, they would have, done better. So she is calling for more support and, just supports the movie industry. Beverly Afaglo.
I wish. Yes, I wish we could go that far. I mean, having awards out there, having festivals out there, not like our movies cannot travel, but I mean celebrated by ourselves out of Ghana. I hope and wish that we'll be able to get there because they love our movies, and both local and what we do, the English, they love it outside. So I think it's about time they start celebrating us this way, like award schemes like this. Yeah.
Is it we not accepting and loving our own? Is that what is?
That's a part of it. That's a part of it. How we shut people off when they go on break or they go on hibernation for their own reasons. Then we shut them off like this person is no more. These are the newest sensation and all that. But we need to celebrate our own good enough so that they stay with us for long, not when they're dead.
Beverly Afaglo right there. So, well, that's all I have for this evening. Okay. Hopefully tomorrow we'll
you bring us some
a lot more.
All right, thank you very much, Becky, for bringing this showbiz. We'll have more news coming your way. Stay tuned in. The Ghana Health Service is warning there is a high risk of a severe third wave, worse than the second wave, if the disregard for COVID-19 protocols continues. Speaking at a news briefing in Accra Wednesday, Director General of the service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boakye, made it clear Ghana is currently going through a third wave of the virus outbreak.
That we are experiencing a third wave, a major spike that can be described as a third wave. There's a high risk that the severe third wave may have a higher much more severe wave compared to the second if nothing is done. And this is happening because we are also still not adhering to the protocols, and we would have expected a lot more people adhering to the protocol, but we've still not seen enough. We're going to start the mask surveys to see how people respond and how it relates to the decline or otherwise of the numbers.
He has been responding to persons who claim they tested negative before traveling to Ghana but tested positive at the airport, at the Kotoka International Airport. He says the testing system at the airport is very effective.
We are very confident in our system, and when you start seeing cases rise around the countries in the world, you see the number appear at the airport also going up. That shows that the machine is quite sensitive. The fact that you are negative 3 days ago or even 2 hours ago doesn't mean that you will not be positive in the next 2 hours. It's a multiplication. Just moving from negative to positive is just a question of a few minutes, depending on how much the titer is increasing. So nobody can say, and it's also wrong to compare 2 different samples, and in what is, especially even when they are taking different dates, and say when I arrived in the night, they say I'm positive. When I did one the following morning, I'm negative. You have to understand the way the virus is behaving. It's multiplication. So that's what we are dealing with. So I think we just want to say that these things are inaccurate, and it's a way to save all of us. And other countries have even more stricter protocols than we have.
Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boakye also says a team has been dispatched to a senior high school in the Oti region after an outbreak of the virus there 3 days ago.
And we shared the update. The schools remain practically The same, a few outbreaks have been recorded cumulatively of 2,647 since school reopened, with 93% recovery. Currently, there are about 166 active cases going on. We have about 38 in OT, which is just coming since the last 3 days. And that school, we're still monitoring to see how we can contain the school. A team has been dispatched to the school to assist the district and the region contain the outbreak immediately. Greater Accra has 15, Ashanti has 93 active cases in schools, Eastern 12, Bono 7, Bono East 7, and Bono 1.
As the Finance Minister prepares to present the 2021 mid-year budget review statement to Parliament, the minority is asking him to clearly spell out his plan to deal with the country's rising debt. They are also asking for a clear plan on how to combat growing hardship in the country. NDC MP on the Finance Committee, Ben Podo, says the economy needs immediate salvaging. He says more needs to be done to cut down on government spending.
So I will expect that the minister will come tomorrow and be truthful to the nation. Already we've got snippets of information about the shortfalls in revenue, which were estimated to be realized within the first 5 months. He should be truthful to us and tell us the reasons why these shortfalls are coming and what measures the government will adopt to stem these reductions in our revenue expectations. And then the borrowing, which has landed us into very severe debt risk situations, we should find a way of curtailing the borrowing, and then institute measures to start the redemption of our debt. You know, in the former government, during Setekpe's period, we created the sinking fund, which will be used to be servicing our debts. But since they came, they abandoned it, and it was only last year that they reintroduced it. So we'll see how vigorously that can be pursued to reduce our total debt stock. Those are the things that I expect him to come and discuss with us tomorrow.
In terms of expenditures and how government uses the mega resources that it has, any expectations in that regard in terms of how that can help deal with the debt situation?
You see, we are unhappy about the way expenditures are being managed. We don't have the details. They give this figure today, that tomorrow another figure comes up. Look at the distortions or the contradictory figures being given for the COVID expenditure on water. Which one is acceptable? What is the truth? That's why we are even calling for forensic audit of the COVID expenditures.
NPP MP on the Finance Committee, Stephen Amoah, says the current debt situation is better than what the NDC left in 2001. He blames the situation on COVID-19 and assures the government is committed to dealing with the debt situation.
The capitalist, we are going to give the best that Ghanaians are expecting to harmonize these areas, create more jobs, reduce standard of living, reduce cost of living, increase standard of living, and making sure that we consolidate, we restore and continue with our debt levels within manageable framework in the very near future. We'll do all these things.
What would you expect to hear from the finance minister on that bit in terms of the debt management? Your colleagues are warning that at the current rate where we are spending up to 85% of revenue paying back debt, they think that by 2023 we may not even be able to pay back our debts. What will you hope the finance minister deals with?
But do you know, our colleagues have taken us to over 140% debt to GDP ratio before, and we lived. Go and check the year 2000. When the NDC, they were handing over power to us, our debt to GDP was over 140%. Did we die? So what are they talking about? But if you talk about change, that is increment in terms of our debt portfolio, they've done worse than us. Go and check. Every 4 years, go and check debt increment. But the debt to GDP is unfortunate because we are not growing. And we are not growing because productivity has been on hold. You know what is happening in the whole world and in Ghana. Revenue generation is down. You know, industries are not operating that they used to. Trading activities are not. So definitely these are key functions of GDP. And if they are key functions of GDP, and because of natural disaster or global crisis, they are not growing and we are spending, debt to GDP will be this. Even with us, we've done our best. I think under NDC it would have been about 600.
Would we be able to fix this ever? At least in the short term?
Of course. You can't talk about short term, but we are putting pragmatic measures in place to ensure that it doesn't go more alarming, and we have structured program to restore these things. And that's why in our budget, do you know that even our deficit, we have reviewed our deficit in our main budget from 9.5 to 9.4. It's most likely we can do some of these things and make sure that we'll do that.
Well, a member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Assefa, who is also on the Education Committee, says Ghanaians can expect an announcement of major investment in tertiary education to ensure free SHS graduates get access to tertiary education.
One, the implementation of the free SHS and how monies are supposed to be disbursed to people who are supposed to be using such monies for the running of the free SHS, being it senior high schools, being it funds that are supposed to be used to procure food, funds that are supposed to be used to procure all the other essentials that allows for the implementation of the free senior high school education. With respect to tertiary education, I have seen a GET Fund document that is allocating about 60 to 70% of its resources to expand tertiary education so as to be able to take up the number of senior high school students who have churned out from our senior high school. So I want to see how the finance minister will play that also out so that we'll be able to expand infrastructure in our tertiary education so that the number of people who completed senior high schools will be able to have their day in the tertiary education.
Well, the NDC is not the only group concerned about Ghana's rising debt level. The central bank is equally concerned and raised those concerns in a press release at the end of its 101st meeting on Monday. Now, paragraph 29 of the statement reads in part, at 76% of GDP in May 2021, the level of public debt raises debt sustainability concerns, and the committee reiterated the importance and urgency of fiscal consolidation efforts. Greater efficiency in debt management would be required, especially in the face of potential further tightening of global financing conditions, which could heighten rollover risks and access to new financing in the outlook. It is therefore expected that the Finance Minister will touch on these, hopefully tomorrow, when he presents the media budget review to Parliament. In other news, the University Teachers Association of Ghana is threatening a strike from next Monday unless government will accede to its demand for lecturers to be paid at least twice what they are earning now. The demand for the entry-level lecturer to receive the Ghana cedi equivalent of $2,084 from the current $900, according to UTAG, should restore what was due its members in 2012. They contend successive government have been underpaying lecturers.
Beginning of 2020, the entry gross salary, that is the basic salary plus the market premium of a lecturer in the public universities was 997.54. That is how miserable the situation was. In dollars, 997.84. In cedi terms, it is 5,687.66 pesos. This is far less than the $1,500 that was improved even with the advent of the single span salary structure in 2012 to $2,084.42. Clearly, you can see the drop of $1,086. That is 6,193 Ghana cedis. And this drop is more than the lecturer's present day take-home salary. I believe you agree with UTAG that this is unacceptable. Further delay in the negotiations beyond the end of July 2021 will compel UTAG to advise itself. We also like to state here that until our demands are considered and met in toto, UTAG would have no other option. UTAG will have no other option than to embark on industrial action by withdrawing teaching, which includes the conduct of examinations and the making of examination scripts, marking of examination scripts, and other related matters, starting from Monday, 2nd August 2021 until further notice.
UTAG insists it is not asking for an increase in salaries, but only what is due its members.
UTAG demands that government should not just, government should just, and this is very important to us, UTAG demands that government should just restore the 2012 values for the lecturer without recourse to any adjustment. To make it clear, we are not asking for any increment in our salaries. We are asking for restoration. UTAG believes that this demand is appropriate and indeed fair. If government finds this difficult to do, UTAG is willing to follow a roadmap as suggested by the Professor Yaa Ntiamwa Beidu's report on the Presidential Committee on Emoluments for Article 71 office holders that was dated June 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, in the preamble of that report, that is Professor Yaa Ntiamwa Beidu's report, there is a portion that is of interest to you and to us. At page number 11 of that preamble, and I quote, the committee strongly urges government to also spare no efforts at reducing the wide gap between the highest and the lowest paid public servant in the country. This can be achieved by implementing a roadmap, as was done during the tenure of former President Kufuor, to the health and tertiary education sectors, for enhancing the salaries of public sector workers on the single span salary structure. The goal must be that the salary earned by every worker should enable him or her to live in dignity.
The Ghana School Feeding Program has embarked on a project to improve the quality of food given to pupils. The initiative includes the introduction of texturized soya products, TSP, to replace the already existing protein products such as egg, meat, and chicken. National Coordinator for the program, Gertrude Kwashiga, explained this has become necessary because there was a need to improve food safety and quality, such as storage and preparation. Speaking at the campaign launch of the initiative dubbed Go for Soya Chunks, Mrs. Kwashiga noted the National Food Buffer Stock Company has been contracted to supply the soya chunks to the caterers across the country without delays.
When I took over as the National Coordinator of Ghana School Feeding Program, the main challenge was to improve food quality, safety, and hygiene. That, you will know, was my core, the Nutrition Initiative training. This was a practical, innovative way of cooking that employs creativity in preparing nutritious meals for the school-age child, at least cost whilst maintaining quality of food served. It was at this point that Yedent Agro-Food Processing Company Limited was introduced to us by WFP, that's World Food Program. Through the financial and technical support of World Food Program, Partnership for Child Development and Yedent Agro-Processing Company Limited, about 16,000 of our caterers and cooks in the 10 regions of Ghana have benefited from the Nutrition Initiative training. There was also an arrangement between GSFP, Yedent, and National Food Buffer Stock Company to supply TSP, that is the texturized soya product, to our caterers across the country. This was a relief for our caterers when payment of feeding grants delayed.
Mrs. Kwashga also revealed since the introduction of the relatively cheaper protein substitutes, most school heads have commended the change. She therefore urged the caterers to continue preparing nutritional meals which must be kept hot at all times.
Acknowledges the role of Yedent Agro-Food Processing, WFP and BCD, and wishes to thank them for their assistance over the years. The benefits of the TSP by caterers are several. In fact, caterers have been calling our offices for the supply of soya chunks ever since they were introduced to it, and I want to use this opportunity to appeal to Yedent to establish distribution points across the regions and districts so that our caterers can have unlimited access. GSFP is satisfied with incorporating soya chunks in meals for our pupils for its nutritional potency, relatively cheap cost, ease of usage, and ease of storage, and less bulky. So far, we have not received any complaints of allergy by caterers or school authorities alike. I would like to wish my caterers to actually speed up and make sure that their cooking of nutritious meal for our children that has to be kept hot all the time is done regularly, despite any hindrances and payments that they always cry.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have more stories coming your way. Stay tuned.
You're welcome to business. Now, the Ghana Stock Exchange says it is buoyant amid the impact of COVID-19 across Ghana's financial market. Speaking at an annual general meeting, the managing director, Eko Feji, explained that specific investment channels have been created to reap the profits of COVID-19.
The Ghana Stock Exchange, despite an impressive performance over the years, is expecting more robust activity when the planned demutualization is fully completed. According to the council chairman, Anselm Resoa, Benchi Enchil, Lecha Enankoma, and SEM Group have begun work and have already submitted draft transaction documents such as the transaction checklist, financial due diligence, as well as the valuation and share distribution plan as they await consideration. He believes this will enhance the country's capacity as having the leading stock market in Africa.
They've done everything, but unfortunately the COVID hampered us. You know, we even had the London Stock Exchange with us, who are going to help us with this demutualization, because we think it is very, very important so that people effectively own the stock exchange rather than it being a national asset. We want to break away from that and have freedom within the stock exchange, And you will also notice that from the revisions that we're doing to our rules, our listing rules and so on, we are trying to be very competitive and trying to ensure that the stock exchange moves in tandem with modern trends.
Commenting on the performance of the exchange for the first half of the year, Managing Director of the GSE, Eko Afezi, described the performance as one of the best since the beginning of stock trading in Ghana. He therefore hopes for a more aggressive growth performance before the end of the year.
I expect to see the index still remaining positive. As to whether to go up or come down, I cannot predict, but I expect it to still remain positive. The bond market will still do well. Already, we've done the whole, the value traded or the volume traded is about the same as the whole of last year. So we're on the right track. The bond market will still continue to do well. Equity market will continue to do well this year.
The annual general meeting was also used to honor some key personalities who worked tirelessly towards the transformation of the BERS.
For the country to really maximize economic gains in forex trading, there is a need for an enhanced regulatory framework that will strategically streamline activities. That's according to digital transformation and innovation expert Dr. Miles Christian Hagen. He made these remarks in his interaction with the media at the launch of the Elevate Ghana Forex project.
So in terms of even regulation, you know, we have the Payment Systems and Services Act. All that was developed to make sure there's some clear guideline on how you execute things within the payment systems industry. So I'll say BOG has come to a point where they know what is happening. They're also supporting fully. And this is the capacity we need to move Ghana forward.
Okay, so within the forex space, we don't need new law. We only need regulations.
So it's more of a regulatory enhancement. Okay. So there are certain new things that have been learned, certain risks that have been identified. So it is just to top up and then try and then clear the area where there are gray areas, where there are certain concerns. They come out with a one-pager guideline to try and then clarify. In instances of this, do it this way. And I believe that would be the right step.
There are also misconceptions that this business is very risky and the states won't be able to, let's say, tax transactions in there. What do you say about that?
I think the ECD is going to be the best way to at least have a view of how this space can be regulated. So once the BOG pushes it, most of those who will be doing it will be the traders, so people with some level of experience. And it's just going to be about knowledge sharing. So you will have an instance where BOG can, and you know they even have a sandbox where most of these things can be pilot tested, run for a short time before it's moved into live. No, I think it's all around capacity building. And when you listen to what Sika and team have done, it took time. So it's not about those who don't have any skill, but it's about getting people to build a certain skill set. So what happens is through the engagements with those who are joined this group, they are now going to understand certain things, and it's something you do over time. Now, when it comes to risk, what makes people learn a lot is everything a step at a time. So people who have been in for possibly 1 year, 3 years, are going to train those who do it for 1 month, get them to understand the risk. Possibly after 6 months, you'll be more confident. And you realize the last testifier indicated that even after the first training, he was confused, which is normal. So it's not going to be about pushing them out and say, go and do it. Build their capacity, support them, get to a point that they have full confidence, and then at that point they can continue.
Well, the Elevate Ghana project is the first ever forest project initiative in Ghana. Let's listen to the founder, Sika Gifty Ano.
I train them on basically financial analysis. Okay. We do beyond forest. Forest is basically currency. Okay. We have a lot of stuff on the financial market. We have metals. We have people that trade oil. We have people that trade gold. We have people that trade currencies. We have people that even trade metals. You get what I'm saying? So if you get the skill, you have the ability to leverage. You decide, and you can decide to trade gold today. Tomorrow you can decide to trade currencies. And the set skill is transferable. They are not going to be beneficiaries, they are going to be participants. But we are willing to fund them with a life account. we are willing to fund them with a life account, that with a mentorship package of about 6 months that we will help them to build upon. So in 6 months with $50, we are hoping for them to be able to do up to $2,000 with the $50, for them to know that it really works when you have a process, when you have a trading plan. Somebody can go into the forex trading platform today and gamble and get double his money. It doesn't make him a forex trader, it makes him a gambler. There's a process, there's a systematic skill. It's like going to the school to get a medical certificate. The same way, people use 6 to 2 years to get a skill, depending on who your mentor is.
MTN Ghana, the country's largest mobile operator, has launched the MTN Ghana Ayoba Hackathon to allow for startups and app developers to build fintech solutions to solve many of the country's tech problems. The Chief Marketing Officer of MTN Ghana, Noel Kojo-Ganson, says the newly launched MTN Ghana Ayoba Hackathon seeks to provide app developers and startups the opportunity to be creative and launch their services through micro apps.
Hackathon is primarily aimed at bringing the developer community together for them to build very user-friendly and micro apps for us to adopt into our super app, which we call Ayoba, for the usage of our customer base. As we set out to have an Ayoba as a super app on the continent, one of the main key things we've been thinking about is how best do we ensure that we have the right content that is going to drive stickiness onto the platform, drive customers to adopt it, and primarily also ensure that there are solutions that are being resolved by the app in general. And as we are as a business and through our partnership intentions, we know we cannot do this by ourselves, so we plunged into having and bringing the developer community together to be able to help us and also grow their sector as well. There are different strengths to digital ambition of a country as a business and as a people. There are different arms to it, and for us, we see that once we are able to partner the developer community, we're giving them a base, a reach of their customer base so that they can also showcase their talent, showcase their work for an adoption of the customer base. And as well as we, the users of that app, it gives us the opportunity to be able to change our behavior with the new normal that we find ourselves in today, to be able to do things a lot more easier, much more faster and quicker, to be able to catch up with the developed worlds and our colleagues on the other side of the globe. The benefit is very huge. Today we have 1 million users of Ayoba, so primarily that means that if we're able to get micro apps, then you have an exposure of a developer to about 1 million customer base, and you can see the growth that we'll be envisaging from where we started off with 1 million and beyond. With regards to in terms of what you benefits, there are 3 key winners that we're looking at who will be rewarded with the prizes that we mentioned. The first prize winner takes home 20,000 Ghana cedis. The third prize winner takes home a prize of 8,000 Ghana cedis. The middle one takes a prize pack of, I think, about 10,000 Ghana cedis in that.
Well, interested participants have up till August 23rd to register for the event on the website. Now, Design and Tech Institute has organized a competition to support entrepreneurs in the technical and vocational industry to provide them seed funds to inject into their business. MasterCard Foundation, the major partner for the competition, will be supported with about $30,000. Here's more.
The issue of unemployment among graduates in Ghana is on the rise as thousands of students graduate each year. In view of this, the Design and Technology Institute has organized a competition to support the graduating students to start their own businesses. According to the Institute's Chief Executive, Constance Wanika, government and private institutions cannot employ all graduates, hence the decision to support her students with $3,000 and equipment to start their own businesses.
Everything that we do here must lead into jobs. One of our core concerns is when you teach young people or you give them skills, it has to lead to an outcome. And so with a core precision welding and fabrication program that we're doing, through some of the creative courses that we do, they enter a competition where young people are given seed capital, because government cannot create all the jobs. Employers also cannot employ all the young people that come out every year. Our partners, the MasterCard Foundation, allows us to use up to about 30,000 USD, which, as we said, goes into seed funding for some of the winners. But the school also then provides them with some of the raw materials that they need to design their prototypes as well.
Technical lead at Tech Shelter, Paul Kwabena Isiedu, says The outcome of the competition will indicate that students from the Design and Technology Institute are ready for the job market.
DTI is giving them hands-on training, right? And they are trying to solve real-life problems beyond the walls of the school. If they continue with that which they have learned and the competition, the skills they have learned from this competition, they are more likely to be able to solve even more problems beyond what they learned here with the skill sets they have learned. So I think they are more ready. There's more to learn, and DTI is supporting them to partner with industry players. So going out from here means that they are ready to apply what they have learned to solve problems within our economy. So I think.
And that'll be all for business.
Many thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you the second installment of sports. And the career of promising Ghanaian boxer Wasiu Mohammed has been dealt a hefty blow. The talented boxer has been stripped off his WBO Global Super Bantamweight title by the sanctioning body due to inactivity. Wasiu has not fought since January 2020 when he stopped John Amuzu of Benin in 7 rounds at the Bukom Boxing Arena here in Accra. Here is president of the WBO Africa, Samir Kaptan.
I think our rule says when a boxer wins a title, like today, Friday, if a boxer wins the title, we have a form to be filled that you have 120 days to defend the title. If you don't defend, then you'll be stripped. And I think all of you know, since Wasiu won the title, he hasn't defended both titles, the Global and Africa. So he's been stripped. You know, I particularly heard about what is happening. You know, former it did happen, and present day I heard it last 2 weeks. You know, but I've informed he said he's not the manager, you know, but I've informed Mr. John Mafo about it. Well, it's not only this boxer, it's not only Wasiu that this has happened to so many boxers, not in Ghana alone, around Africa and around the world. This is our decision. The rules that we have, that if you win the title and you don't defend 120 days, and even if 120 days comes and you don't have a tangible answer, you know, to tell us, then that's that. But if you tell us maybe there's something wrong with you, maybe doctors report that you're not fit to defend at that 120 days, so they should give you more time. You have to apply, so that we think about and give you more time. But nothing of sort came. He can get the second chance if his promoter applies with the new champion of his title. We can give him the chance because he's a good boxer.
Thank you very much, sir.
So he shouldn't relent.
Okay.
And he shouldn't be disturbed, you know, but only, you know, I've been saying this thing, you, the pressmen, are my witness, that discipline counts. In boxing, to get to the world, you need to be disciplined. You need to respect your managers because they are spending the money. You know, don't think that you've won the African title, that's that. It entails a lot. It entails a lot, you know. So you have to dedicate your life to your profession so that somebody who is pushing you also will be happy to push you. You know, but there have been a lot of infighting in Ghana. That's my problem. It behoves me so much that, you know, these young guys, especially you pressmen, should help them, talk to them, not only to come and take the messages and put it in your electronic media or print media. When you meet them, advise them.
Head coach of the West Africa Football Academy, Prosper Nate Ogum, says he was impressed with the team's performance in last season's Ghana Premier League. Wafa finished third in the 2020-2021 season, and Prosper Nate could not have been happier.
I feel good myself and the team, the entire team, the board, the management, especially the players, looking at how we started somewhere along the line. We had to lose the likes of Daniel Umuti, Amankwa Forcing, Daniel and Co. And then we were also hit with a couple of injuries where we had to now be playing players out of position. So it was actually hectic, especially in the first round. But then the second round, we were able to bounce back. through determination, hard work, and then we're able to make it. So I'm particularly excited because if you look at this very team, it's not that talented like the team of 2016 that qualified from Division 1 to Premier and had to stay for 2 years. That's Majid and Co. But then if you look at this team, I think it's the desire to achieve that has actually taken us to where we are. So I would say I'm happy, the players are happy, the board is happy, management, our fans, supporters, everybody's happy. So that's it.
All right, more sports at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensando.